I want to talk about the most frustrating book I have ever read. And I feel really bad about this because I don't think I've ever done a full video on a book that's tended to be negative. But it's no one I know has read it, and I want to just get my feelings out, and this is the most likely way in which I can connect with people who might have read it or have heard of it and can talk to me about it. I'm just so baffled. Ugh. And sad and angry. So the book is Stags. And do you know what? I think I made this 10 times worse for myself because I hyped myself up so much for this book. I'll read the back and you know, see if it piques your interest. I turn the card over. RSVP to who? There's no name on it. And then there's like a invite which says you're invited to spend Justitium at Longcross Hall, Cumberland. Coaches departing Stags at 5 p.m. Friday. RSVP. And then under that it says there are some invitations you just shouldn't accept. Greer MacDonald doesn't know that yet. I mean, that's pretty intriguing, and I was under the impression that this was basically kind of Frankie Landau Banks, which I loved, meets Agatha Christie, which I also love. So it's basically about this girl Greer who's from I think she's from Manchester maybe, and she starts going to this really posh school called Stags, and she's kind of frozen out in her first couple of months. She really doesn't fit in there, and then suddenly she's invited to spend half term at like the main popular posh guy's big mansion. At this point I was super psyched because then I knew from like reviews and the blurb and stuff that, you know, they go to the mansion, it's isolated, and then weird stuff starts happening, and I was hyped. I mean, the front says 9 students, 3 blood sports, 1 deadly weekend. That sounds amazing. So you've got posh people, you can talk about class, you've got this isolated mansion where there's like secret corridors and like people whispering behind like paintings, and like, you know, dark foggy forests and like wolves and shit. Like, I was so hyped. I was like, yes. And then you've got all these teenagers and it's gonna be like so dramatic. I was ready for it. I was so hyped, and it didn't come through, and I'm really sad about it. So my main problem is obviously not the concept. The concept I'm completely sold on and I wanted so much more from it, but the execution of said concept was not good. There are moments sometimes when the writing, I thought, oh, they're finally getting where I want it to go. As in, it was getting a bit atmospheric, it was a bit creepy, they were out in the woods and the hounds, because they went hunting, the hounds are barking and they get separated from the group, and I was like, oh, what's gonna happen? And then it just gets undermined right away. The narrator of the story, who is Greer, this student who's kind of an outcast, she, like, in her narrative, not in speech, she uses words like doofus or ovs, like just in like the prose, and like, she's not speaking, and it just makes her seem so much younger. So instead of being like a dark YA like murder mystery about class, which is what I wanted, it was kind of just like Mean Girls with posh people and a few creeps. That's kind of what it came across to me as, which is really annoying. And she seemed very juvenile, like the way that she describes things, and oh, the film references. I swear to God, I literally went ugh out loud every time there was a... Listen, I'm a film student. I have studied film production for 2 years of my life. I love films. I review films. I go and watch films. I watch other people's reviews of films. I love film, okay? I don't want to hear about films every other bloody page while I'm reading a book. It was so weird. It was like the author wanted like credit for research she'd done or something, and she was like, oh, I watched this film to, you know, give me an idea to do this. All that makes it look like is, one, nothing you're doing is original because you pulled it out of a film, and two, it just pulls me right out of the story. What is the actual point? And it's not even like it's relevant to the plots. For example, if she was like a film student, it would still be annoying, but at least the references would make some kind of sense. But like the explanation for it is that her dad is like a documentary filmmaker, and she says this right at the beginning of the book, that he's going away to film a documentary, so I have to go to boarding school. That's like the only exposition of her dad that we get, and then somehow that merits a whole, what, 300 pages of film references. What? No! Why? Honestly, like my mum heard me like grunting, a bit weird, but she came into the room and be like, oh, what's wrong? And I read her like a few, like I just flipped through a chapter and I just picked out, and she was like, that's ridiculous, I don't even know how that got past the editor. Because it's so annoying. It's so annoying. If you have references and mood boards and stuff, just create that atmosphere with words. Don't do film, because that's the thing, the film references were like in place of description. She was like, I remember when she's like driving up to the school, she was like, ever seen Brideshead Revisited? The castle was like that or something. I was like, well no I haven't, can you just describe it please? Ugh. And I'm gonna like just pick a random chapter 8, and I'm gonna see how many film references we get in this one chapter. Oh, here we go. Line 2 of chapter 8. We swept down this ridiculous marble staircase with huge paintings all around it, straight out of Wayne Manor in the dark night. 1. Tonight his longish black hair was slicked back from his forehead, and his face looked really handsome and sort of noble. Prince Caspian, I thought. 2. Now that's technically a book reference, but it's also a film reference, so... Did you ever see The Remains of the Day? You know the bit where the under butlers are all measuring the placement of cutlery on the table? I'll bet these place settings were all measured by to the millimetre by one of the many servant types who are standing all around the edges of the room. 3. His voice somehow made you see what he was saying as if you were watching a film. I found I was imagining Minnie Shafine in the haughty little Maharaja from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. 4. All the medieval girls got up as if they all knew exactly what to do. I'd seen this in Maurice, the men and women splitting into different rooms after dinner. 5. Yeah, so I'm at the end of chapter 8, and at the beginning of chapter 9 I can already see another one where it says, after the dinner last night, the roasting of Chanel and Shafine's crazy Jungle Book bullshit story put an end to... Like, why? There's no reason for it to be there. You don't need credit for all of the references, and if you want it, put it in like the acknowledgements or the notes or something. Don't put it in the prose. It was so annoying. It was really annoying, and I was so ready to be kind of creeped out, suspense, murder, but then just this juvenile narrator and these fucking film references, excuse my French, just like undermined everything, and it was so infuriating because I actually enjoyed the plot and the concept and even the way it's structured. It's like, why? And not to be arrogant, but like all the way through I was like, if I was writing this, oh, this sounds really arrogant, but if I was writing, because obviously like I know what I like, so if I'd been writing it I would have made it better, but obviously in my opinion, I'm sure some people have read it and loved it just the way it is, but you had such a good concept, and I think that's what gets me so much. It's not that it's a bad book, and I think this made me angrier and more frustrated than a bad book would, because if I read a bad book I'm just like, oh, it's bad, shame, move on. But this had the potential to be amazing and like one of my favourites, and it wasn't, and I just got so angry about it because I was so hyped and I was exactly in the mood for something like dark and suspenseful, and it just wasn't that, and it could have been and it should have been. I think this is the most animated I've ever got in a video, but it's irritating. Ugh. Yeah, I don't know. Have you read Stags? Did you feel the same way? I don't know. We'll see. God. And it's getting a sequel as well. And that's the thing, the twist at the end was really cool, and now they're gonna go into, well, I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, but if you want to read this, maybe like mute this part of the video. But like at the end they have this allusion to like this weird religious cult, and I was like, sweet, like this would be right up my street if I didn't hate the main character and kind of the other characters, to be honest, and just the way it's written. Like, I would be so on board with this in a parallel universe where there are no film references, there is an interesting MC. I mean, I do feel a bit mean, like, just ranting about a book, but the thing is, I enjoy watching rants, and I had no one I could rant to because no one I know has read it, and I wanted to get it out somewhere. So yeah, if you have heard of Stags or you've read it, just please talk to me. What went wrong with this book? And is it just me? Is it just me being very nitpicky and I just personally had hyped it up and then, you know, it wasn't what I wanted, so now I'm throwing a tantrum? I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. Thanks for watching this video. I will see you soon, I think. Yeah, I mean, unless I die or something, which hope not. So yeah, I'll see you soon with that video. Bye.